Hello everybody, Timothy Bailey with Project Learn and a video for us today. I found this picture of this cute little girl here. Today we're going to talk about this stuff here, this on top of her head. Stuff that you have on top of your head, stuff that I have on top of my head. What is this stuff called? Very good. This is called hair. So we're going to talk about hair. It's an interesting topic because there's some things that are confusing about it, and in different cultures, there's not as much variety. So when I was in South Korea and China, students were always interested because in those places, women and girls often had straight black hair, and boys had straight black hair that was short, right? So they were always interested when people had hair that was different, right? Also, with social isolation, many of us are stuck at home. The place we go to get our hair cut is closed, so there's a slight problem. You can see my picture here. I need to get my hair cut, but I don't want to do it at home. I don't know what I'm doing, and I can't go somewhere, right? So we're going to talk all about hair today. There's a few things to talk about first. So here's a woman here with some very fancy things in her hair, look very nice. We're talking about this stuff right here again, just like the picture of the little girl, right? This is hair with no S. So when I go to the place to get my hair cut, I do not say hairs. I always say hair, right? Sort of the uncountable noun. However, if you should go into a restaurant and your plate looks like this, which would be very gross, you would call the waiter or waitress and say, "Excuse me, sir, or ma'am, there are some hairs on my plate," right? There are several hairs on my plate. May I get a new one? Now, you could also say, "There is hair on my plate," but here we would tend to count them. Not count them as in the sense of there are 3 hairs. We would probably just say, "There are hairs on my plate." Now, something that students often get confused, things like cats and dogs, right? We do not call what is on the outside of the dog here, the puppy, hair, usually, right? When we refer to the what's like hair on the outside of a dog or cat, we call that fur, okay, fur. Now, however, you can see that the puppy here is sitting on a couch. And many people don't like dogs and cats on their furniture, on their couches, because they leave little hairs, right? So if I'm looking at my couch and I tell the puppy to get down, get off the couch, right? And I look, I might say, "Look, you left some hairs on the couch," right? So hairs are really the individual sort of strand of hair. But when we're talking about the color and cutting it and styling it, we're talking about this, hair. Okay? When we're talking about the individual, even several pieces, strands, like string of hair, we might say hairs. And when we're talking about animals, we're talking about fur. All right, excuse me, so let's go forward. All right, so let me see here. All right, so let's look at some tools, some of the equipment, the things we might use for hair on a daily basis. Okay, and if you have very short hair, you have to use as much. But people with long hair have to use some of these things, certainly. Here's the first one. You might use one of these. I sometimes use one of these just because it's easier. My wife uses one of these, Lucy, because she has very long hair. What is this called? This is called a brush, right? So the noun, this thing is called a brush. Now that can also be the verb, right? I am brushing my hair. So many of our nouns for tools and equipment can also be the verb. Hammer, saw, brush, right? Those are also the things we do. So I am brushing my hair with my brush. In the past, men often would use one of these because their hair was not long, right? It is often now. But for shorter hair, you may not use a brush. You might use one of these things here. What is this called? This is called a comb. A comb. And this is the pronunciation here. So there are three sounds, the k, the o, and the m. Notice that the b is silent. So we don't say comb, comb. No, comb. The last sound coming out of your mouth should be comb. Again, this is the noun for this thing here, and it is the verb for what I am doing. I am combing my hair with my comb. And that's a good way to practice these things that have the same word for the noun and the same word for the verb. Use them together in a sentence. I am brushing my hair with my brush. I am combing my hair with my comb. I am hammering the nail with the hammer. Okay, that gives you some good practice. Now I told you I need my hair cut. Well, the thing to do that, I don't use a knife to cut my hair, right? That would probably be dangerous and turn out bad, right? I use these things here. Notice I said these things. So this is another troubling thing for students sometimes. And it's similar to some other ideas that we had. These are scissors, right? Scissors with an S. And people might say a pair of scissors. The same way we talk about a pair of glasses for seeing, or a pair of pants. These are words, because there's sort of two parts, they always have the S, right? They are never without the S. So always scissors, glasses, pants, okay, for these things. All right, so scissors to cut my hair. Another thing people might use, right, particularly if you have long hair, right, this is called a hair tie, right, because it ties your hair back and it holds all of the hair back, right? And there's a variety of these, and some of them have other names. Basically, they are all things to hold your hair in place or to tie it back. A hair tie. Now, what about hair color? As I said, this is often interesting. This gentleman here, right? What color is his hair? And he also has a beard and a mustache, right? Which are two other kinds of hair on our face. His hair is black, right? Black hair. A little bit lighter, slightly different color. This girl here, right? We might say her hair is brown, right? Brown. And keep in mind, in general, black is black, right? But brown can have a variety, light brown and dark brown, right? When black gets lighter, it starts changing into another color we'll talk about here in a second, right? But brown can have a variety of colors. This girl here, right? This is always very interesting because many cultures do not have this hair color naturally, right? People can make their hair color this color, but they are often in cultures not born with hair this color. This is red, right? Red hair, right? Now, if the red hair has a little bit of brown, so it's a mixture of brown and red, we have a special word called auburn, right? Auburn. And it can be more red than brown or more brown than red. Again, there's different levels of auburn, right? But it's a mixture, if you look it up in the dictionary, of red and brown. Okay. Another very uncommon hair color throughout large parts of the world is this, right? Students often call it yellow, right? Hair, but we have a special word for it. The word is blonde. Now I put two words here. They're really the same word, one with an E, one without. This is a French word, and in French, the feminine, right? Words are feminine and masculine, has an E, and this one would be masculine, right? We tend to use this one when we're describing a person, and this one when we're describing hair. So you may very well see both of these, with an E and without an E. I think the one with the E is the more common variety that we see. Here's another hair color, right? So as we age, this happens naturally to most people. And we would say gray, right? Gray. People might also say silver hair. Silver is a kind of gray. right? Notice I have two spellings here as well. The reason for this is the first one with the A is the typical American English spelling, and the one with the E is the typical British spelling, right? You may or may not see both of these. Teaching English for a while now, I sometimes forget which one I spell in the United States, so I sometimes use this one anyways, right? So gray. Now, of course, nowadays, and a little bit in the past, people will color their hair a variety of colors, right? To make them exciting and fun, and just to, be vibrant and joyful, right? What I went over here were the typically traditional natural hair colors. But you can color your hair now any number of colors, right? So where do you go to get your haircut? I said that at the beginning, I needed a haircut, but my place was closed. Well, traditionally, there are two places, and it's a place for men and a place for women. Here's a place for men. You can see there are two men here getting their hair cut, right? There are also men cutting the hair here, right? And this is called a barber shop, typically, right? That's the traditional word for this place, a barber shop. And these men here would be called barbers, right? Barbers. People who cut hair. Again, traditionally, the place for women looked something like this, very similar. You can see the ladies here getting their hair cut, right? And you can see the women cutting the hair. And there's also a man cutting hair back here, right? And it's possible even that there is a man back here. I cannot tell, right? The place where women traditionally got their hair cut was called a salon. And the women or the person cutting the hair was called a stylist or a hairdresser. Nowadays, the men go to this place and the women go to this place. It might be very common to be that way, but certainly you will see people just going wherever they want to go. It's nice to be at the salon sometimes, right? Because the salon, first of all, does other things. They might wash your hair, and excuse me, for women, they might do nails and things like that, right? So men and women don't always go to the barbershop or the salon. They go wherever they want, wherever they get a nice haircut. I hope this was interesting. I hope it was helpful as you think about, I need to get my hair cut. Think about the words that we've learned today. Here's a couple links also with hair, hair cutting, vocabulary, and hairstyles. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.